الله والله أكبر ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله جل جلاله وحده لا شريك له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له جل جلاله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله عليه الصلاة والسلام. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله صلوات الله عليه وآله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا وعملي سارا وعيشي كارا ورزقي دارا ولا دبر عند قبر النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. صلوا على محمد وعلى محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى والذي خلق السماوات والأرض بغير عمد ترونها تبارك وتعالى هو الأول والآخر وإليه المنتهى. نحمده ونستعينه ونثني عليه ونؤمن به ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف بريته ومبلغ رسالاته العبد المؤيد الرسول المسدد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. عباد الله أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله. On this Friday I remind all of us to uphold the taqwa and obedience and piety of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just yesterday I had a little talk with somebody and we were talking about how simple the religion of Islam is sometimes we're the ones who make it hard. We're the ones who make it seem like it's a religion that wants you to be very different than what normal people are usually like. Of course, we will have our Islamic laws that we have to go by, and even people might be able to identify us outside, especially if we're a sister, a practicing Muslimah sister. But all in all, no, this is a pretty normal, simple religion. And so I wanted to share with you a couple of verses of Surah Al-A'raf, verses 31 and 32, where although Islam is seen as a religion that will always stress on the akhirah, but also will make sure that we have our fair share of dunya as well. So I want to share with you these verses and some hadiths in this regard for the first khutbah. It says, Surah Al-A'raf, verse 31 and 32, Ya bani Adam, خذوا زينتكم عند كل مسجد وكلوا واشربوا ولا تسرفوا إنه لا يحب المسرفين قل من حرم زينة الله التي أخرج لعباده والطيبات من الرزق قل هي للذين آمنوا في الحياة الدنيا خالصة يوم القيامة كذلك نفصل الآيات لقوم يعلمون. Okay, so these verses, they're famous verses and you've probably heard them before. Just want to look at them from a different angle, through the angle of hadiths that we have. But the translation is that, O children of Adam. So this is something that Allah has in mind for everybody. It doesn't necessarily say all believers, but you can tell it's speaking to the believers because it says, take with you your adornments, your zina. Where should I take them with me? Inda kulli masjid. At every masjid that you go to, every mosque that you go to. Now masjid here, because it's talking to all of mankind, masjid might have a more general definition. And not necessarily the Islamic masjids, but anywhere that you do sujood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what's for sure is the masjid itself, the mosque itself, for sure is being addressed here in these verses. So it says, take your zina with you. Zina, okay, which means adornment, embellishment, beautification. It says make sure to go with that to the masjid. Okay. Now, if this was a religion of akhirah and stressing on akhirah and kind of not caring about dunya, okay, then it shouldn't have anything or much to say about dunya and taking care of yourself in dunya. That's not the case. And so this idea of making sure that you are good looking, taking care of yourself when you go to the masjid, something that the Quran feels that it needs to speak about, okay? So that we have a balance in life. No, it doesn't say when you go to the masjid, it doesn't matter what you look like, how sloppy you are, how foul smelling you might be, but make sure to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, it doesn't say that. It says when you go with zina, alright? Now, I want to go through some hadiths here about this verse. Then I want to talk in general about some of the etiquettes of going to the masjid, or what you're supposed to look like when we pray. And then I want to go to some general hadiths, if we have time, of how the imams, the Prophet ﷺ want us to be when we're around each other, even if it's not in the masjid. Okay, so let's see how much we can do here. We have hadith that says that the fifth imam, when he was explaining this verse, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مسجد, he said, أي خُذُوا ثِيَابَكُمُ الَّتِي تَتَزَيَّنُونَ بِهَا. I want you to wear the clothing that usually you'll wear in nice places, that you take as an adornment for yourself. Interesting, okay? Now sometimes out here in the West, of course, let me say this on the side, we are coming from work, okay? That's a different story, okay? I just want to make sure that we're okay there. If you're coming from work or things like that, it's a different story. Allah knows, inshallah you have the intention at least. But all in all, if someone can do this is what the hadith is saying, that you take your best clothes that you use as an adornment for yourself, lis-salah, fil jumu'at wal a'yad, in the Jumas, Salatul Jumaa, and the Eid Salats, these ones. So the Imam, he's using this verse to push this idea that when you go for Salatul Jumaa, this is what you should look like. Yeah. So who says that? Yes, Salatul Jumaa is a spiritual experience, all right? In and of itself, it's a very beautiful form of worship and ibadah. But although in and of itself spiritually it's beautiful, it says no, it's as if there's a link here between the dunya and the spiritual side of things. Now I want to make sure, Islam wants to make sure that we are also on the outer aspect beautifying ourselves. Alright? Next hadith. It says that Al-Hasan ibn Ali, our second Imam, أنه كان إذا قام إلى الصلاة لبس أجود ثيابه. When he would stand for prayer, he would wear his best clothes. Now here it doesn't even talk about masjid. Even inside your home, you might have a place where you're doing your salat, right? Remember I said, it doesn't necessarily mean mosque in the specific sense of the term when the verse says, take your zina with you to your masjid. Anywhere that's a place of sujood and worship of Allah, maybe in your home you have a place. As a matter of fact, one of the etiquettes is to have a special place in your home for salat, right? And usually the brothers and sisters do that. Anyway, it says that when he would stand for prayer, he would wear his best clothing. And so he was told once, "Oh, son of Rasulullah, why do you wear your best clothes?" He said, and this is the reasoning here, Inna Allah jameel yuhibbul jamal. Allah is beautiful, He loves beauty. And so, فَأَتَجَمَّلُ لِرَبِّي. So I beautify myself for my Lord. Alright? So this part here, this little clause is important. I beautify myself for my Lord, for His satisfaction. Not that I beautify myself for a haram reason, to get the attention of someone else that I'm not supposed to. No, I'm doing this for my Lord. أَتَجَمَّلُ لِرَبِّي. While it is my Lord who says, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. It's my Lord that says in the Quran, take with you your zina, your beautifications, with you to the masjids when you go. So he's using that verse again to prove his point. فَأُحِبُّ أَنْ أَلْبَسَ أَجْمَلَ ثِيَابِي. So that's why I love to wear the best clothing that I have. Alright? I still remember, and this is something that whoever has prayed behind Ayatollah Bahjat can testify to. Ayatollah Bahjat, this old man, the way he would go and then sit in his prayer mat, on his prayer mat in the masjid that they had, the little humble masjid in Qom that they had. He would sit there, he had a little pouch, he would sit down, and it's cute. When they get older, they're cuter too, right? He would sit there, open up his pouch, and so everyone's observing him. Every time. He would open up his pouch, take out his little wooden comb that he had, and brush his beard, right? And you're like, who are you trying to look good for? It's as if this is a young man trying to make himself look good because he's about to go to like his fiancée or wife or something, And we see this in our ulama as well, other ulama, but you would see that, firsthand, and it was just so beautiful. And they have a little bit of, fragrance with them and so on, right? And they have their own other stuff, other little things that he had with him. Yeah. So you would look at him, and he's like, okay, you're brushing your beard as if you're about to go meet someone that you really are in love with. And so this is how it is. The Imam here also says, أَتَجَمَّلُ لِرَبِّي. I want to beautify myself for my Lord. Okay. Those of you who are coming in now, we're talking about how Islam is just a normal, simple religion that emphasizes the same things that everyone else emphasizes. And it will put certain restraints and certain red lines, of course. But all in all, this religion is not one that is pushing us to do things totally opposite to everyone else. This is a spiritual religion, so you need to be foul-smelling, disheveled, messy whenever you go to the masjid, because the masjid is for spirituality. And spirituality is at odds with the good things of this world and life. No. Next hadith here. That Imam al-Ridha was asked about Allah, what Allah says in the Quran, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. He said, مِنْ ذَلِكَ, one of the examples of this خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ is التَّمَشُّطُ عِنْدَ كُلِّ الصَّلَاةِ. That you comb your hair before every salat. Yeah? Now some of us have hair on our head and on our face, for example, if you're a guy. So you comb both. So those of us who just have the beard, you take care of the beard, yeah? Because we have hadith even just for the beard, okay? All right, so these are some hadiths about that verse that just show us that they make us feel good about the salat, about how this is supposed to be an experience for us. Yeah, true, it happens 5 times a day. And so it'll be normalized for us, and after a while it's like just something that we do, just like exercise, yeah? But in reality, these are the things that show us, no, this is an actual engagement or relationship, yeah? And then when you watch the ulama, you see that firsthand, that they're actually, that's something to work for. That I see myself in a relationship. And I understand, although it's a spiritual relationship, there is a link between the spiritual aspect and the zahiri, apparent outward aspect as well. The outside reflects what's on the inside and vice versa. Alright, so having said that, this is why our ulama, based on hadiths that we have, I want to go through some of these etiquettes really quickly about how, look, these are things that are paid attention to and are given importance to. When it comes to the salat, just the libas and the clothing that someone is wearing for salat, you'll find that there are certain etiquettes. For example, it's mustahab that the clothing be white. Okay? Assalamu alaikum. That it be the most cleanest of your clothing. And to wear different layers of clothing. This is also an interesting one. I've noticed this. That the ulama explain, based on hadiths that we have, don't just wear one layer, wear a few layers. It's as if this is a formal kind of, a meeting that you're about to have with someone very special. Yeah? Who goes with one layer of clothing, yeah, to a very important meeting? You know what I'm saying? And to wear itar. Now some people, itar of course means a good fragrance, right? Some people, they are very traditional. They want to wear the oils that, we have back home. And it's as if, because it's an oil, it's mustahab. Not necessarily. It says good scent, good fragrance. That can come from, the normal fragrances people use out here as well. And one of those that's important, I would say that, especially if you're Shia, it's one of those things that we have, our identity relies on, is the aqiq ring. That's also one of those things that we have in our sources. Aqiq ring, brothers and sisters, don't sleep on it, all right? I mean it metaphorically, don't sleep on it. What I mean by that is that don't ignore this one. This is one of those important ones. If one can have an aqiq ring, especially during salat, it's one of those things that multiplies, right? We want a constant akhirah cash flow. One of those is the ring. The imams would all wear, okay? If one can find one of those for themselves when they go for ziyarah, at least for salat, to have that. Ayatul Bahjat, once again, let's go back to his little pouch, okay, that I was mentioning before. His little pouch, when he'd open it up, he would have, Assalamu alaikum, he would have that wooden comb, of course, as I said, brushing his hair, his comb, his beard and everything. And then he had like 10, 15 rings, okay? Not 15, I don't want to, 6 or 7 at least rings I remember. And he would put one on each finger. Now that's a little, for me it's a little too much, but there are some pictures of him in his qunut, you can see that he has 4 or 5 or 6 rings on. So it's like, this guy really is in love with somebody, okay? And is really looking good for that person, whoever it is. The one who never gets old. The one who is the ultimate perfection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyone that we're in a relationship with, once we get closer to them, after a while we will see their deficiencies, we will see their imperfections. But this entity, this being, which is Allah, the more closer you get, the more perfection you see. And so a person like him who has spent 70, 80 years with Allah doesn't get tired of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a matter of fact, falls more and more in love with Him. On the flip side, when we're talking about the etiquettes, okay, that this normal, simple religion that we keep talking about has given us, to illustrate and highlight for us how this is a relationship that you have with Allah, not just an exercise. It says, look, when it comes to the clothing of the salat, there's some makruhat. There were some mustahabbat we covered. There's some makruhat, some things that are not good. To wear dirty clothing. To wear tight clothing. Interesting. To wear tight clothing. And I would say the reason for that might be because when it's tight, yeah, it's a little, it bothers you and it might take away from your attention. Okay? Wearing clothing that someone has given you that doesn't care about najasat and tahara. Now sometimes someone gives you clothing, you know it's najis, you can't pray in it. But if you're not sure it's najis or not, it's okay to wear it and you can pray with it. But still, it's better not to, if that person who gave it to you is a person who doesn't care about these things. Look at that. To that extent, Islam is talking about these things. Another one is to wear clothing that has, yes, the picture of the face of something on it. Some people ask this, a lot of people ask this, does it break my salat? This is just a parenthesis I'm opening here. Does it break my salat if I pray with something that has a picture like of an animal or a face on it? Usually the answer that they'll give them is, yeah, it breaks your salat. But the reality of and the truth of the matter is, at worst, it's makruh. It doesn't break salat. Now, does this mean I'm encouraging it? No, it's still makruh. But if it just so happens that you had something on your shirt and you prayed with it, you don't have to redo the prayer. Who wants to redo prayer when it's not wajib? Not me. All right? As a matter of fact, our ulama, they say, they would try their best if they didn't have to make up a prayer that they wouldn't make it up again. Why make up prayer when you don't have to? I did that one prayer for Allah. I tried my best in it. It's in the books. Redo, redo, redo. That's not how the ulama would do it. When you read about this, it's interesting. That's also something to keep in mind. Too much ihtiyat can sometimes cause issues. All right. So it's makruh to wear something like that. No, something simple. Even a ring that has the face on it, don't do it. It says makruh. And even this last one that I want to share with you is interesting. To leave the buttons open in salat. Okay? To leave the buttons open. No. This is an actual meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, so these are some of the things that I'm sharing with you just so that we highlight how Islam cares about these things. Islam is a normal, simple religion that one feels is in line with their fitrah. Okay? Now finally, that was about masjid and the verse that says خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ masjid. But then you have etiquettes that have to do with just dressing up altogether. Not even if it's in the masjid, not if it's for prayer. I want to share those with you really quickly as well. I have 3 or 4 hadiths here. It says, and you've all heard some of these are just reminders for us and for the younger ones to understand that, hey, look, we got a pretty cool religion. أبصر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم رجلا شعثا شعر رأسه وسخة ثيابه سيئة حاله. It says the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم saw somebody, a man who had disheveled, messy hair. His clothes were dirty. And سيئة حاله. Just all in all, this guy is just in a bad state, okay? Now, sometimes for work, you have to be like that. Of course, the bad mood and bad state shouldn't be there, inshallah. But all in all, for work, that's the case, that's a different story. But you can tell from this story that it wasn't something that was necessary or something that was not controllable by this individual. And so what does the Prophet? He says, قال رسول الله من الدين المتعة. One of the aspects of the religion is, now the Arabic word here is mut'ah. Mut'ah means to benefit from something, to use something, to take pleasure in something. He says this person, apparently he had what he needed to dress nicely. The Prophet says, look, this is part of religion, that when Allah has blessed you with something, you use it. You take benefit from it. You don't just leave it there. And look at the next hadiths are even more clear. Very nice. The wording of them is very beautiful in my opinion. The next hadith says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْجَمَالِ وَالتَّجَمُّلِ. Allah loves beauty and loves beautification. وَيَكْرَهُ الْبُؤْسَ وَالتَّبَأُسِ. It doesn't like, let's see, miserableness, misery, to look like you're miserable. These kinds of things. Bu's, bas, we're familiar with these terms. Taba'us means to dress and look like you're just horrible and miserable. Alright? Allah doesn't like these. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ إِذَا أَنْعَمَ عَلَىٰ عَبْدٍ. The assumption is Allah has blessed all of us with something. Yes? There are some people that you read about that, yeah, Allah has only given them 1 or 2 articles of clothing, but they wear one and they keep the other one clean. Once this one goes dirty, they wear the other one, they clean this one. That's how they take care of that. That's how they take care of things. Right? It doesn't have to necessarily be something fancy. Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, whenever you go for his Salaat al-Jama'ah, you didn't have a sajjada or a prayer mat that was like flashy. It was just a white piece of cloth. Right? Now, I'm not saying that this is problematic. No. But all I'm trying to say is that it doesn't always have to be something flashy. But as long as it's clean, presentable, yeah, that's what matters. And so here, the Imam says, the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he says, or this is the Imam, he says these words that I really like. Inna Allah idha an'ama ala abdin ni'matan. When Allah is giving you something, even if it's small, even that white clothing, that white cloth, ahabba an yara alayhi atharaha. He wants to see the signs of that blessing on you. I love this wording here. Allah gave it to you. Why did He give it to you? To just store it? To use it. As a matter of fact, we have some hadiths that say Imam Sajjad, he would use clothing, and once the season was over, he would either give it away or sell it off, and then replace it. Okay, now of course, everything we talk about is within the boundaries of not being extravagant and musrif, as the verse also said, وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. Within those boundaries, of course. Yeah, within those boundaries, look at the Imam is keeping things fresh and new, right? Now here, it says Allah wants to see the signs, the athar, asar, of that blessing on you. Why? Because that was a blessing He gave me. Why? To store it? No. To sport it. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. The Quran says, when Allah has given you a blessing, you make sure that it's used, you make sure that it's even made public sometimes. Now, there are explanations to this verse. The Quran says, فَإِذَا فَرَقْتَ فَانْصَبْ. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Speak of the blessings of your Lord. Yes, sometimes even you have to speak about them. Sometimes, not all the time. So this shows the extent of how Allah, when He blesses you with something, the expectation is that you use it at least. That's why the Prophet in the previous hadith, he said, that's part of religion. You use what Allah has given you. That's why God gives you things, because you're supposed to use them. Only a person who feels that this dunya is everything will store everything and not use them. No, there's nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. It's supposed to be used. كَيْفَ ذَلِكَ. Now this person says, okay, oh Imam, when you're telling me that Allah wants to see the sign, how is that? Now I don't know why this person's asking this question. The answer is clear already. But this person asks the question. He says, you, oh Imam, you're saying that Allah wants to see the blessings that He's given me. He wants to see a sign of those in me when I walk around, when I'm... What does that mean? كيف ذلك? قال, the Imam answered, well, okay, let me give you some examples. يُنَظِّفُ ثَوْبَهُ. This person cleans their clothing. When someone gives you something, you just throw it to the side and not take care of it. You take care of it. Allah gave you this clothing, you take care of it. You keep it clean and tidy. يُطَيِّبُ رِيحَهُ. This person takes care of their smell so that they're not foul smelling. يُجَسِّسُ دَارَهُ. Takes care of their home, makes sure that the walls are painted. This is interesting. Jas and jasas means chalk. Now in back home, the walls are made out of chalk. I don't know if you have that in Pakistan or not. But where we come from, yeah, there's it's a smooth chalk that they use for the walls. And you can tell if there's dents in them. Okay? يُجَسِّسُ دَارَهُ. You make sure that you've smoothened out the walls, you've painted the walls properly, you take care of your home. Interesting. I thought spirituality was the opposite to this. يَكْنُسُ أَفْنِيَتَهُ. This person has to, broom the yards of the house. In our day and age, it would probably be mowing the lawn. Okay, something like that. حَتَّى إِنَّ السِّرَاجِ قَبْلَ مَغِيبِ الشَّمْسِ. This person turns on the lantern and light before the sun goes down. That shows how caring you are. That you make sure that everything is in its right place, everything's taken care of. Well, wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to worry about our akhirah and this and that. No. This is a well-rounded, simple, yet beautiful religion that we have with these teachings. Now, if the Imam hadn't given these examples, we still would have figured out some examples on our own. I feel that this person didn't need to ask this question, but he did, and these are some of the examples that the Imam gives. A couple more before I end. I know I've gone a little bit over my time. It says that Imam Ali alayhi salam, he said that you should do tazayyun, beautify yourselves. For who? For akhika al-Muslim, for your Muslim brother, right? So the Muslim brothers for themselves, the Muslim sisters for themselves. Yeah, not a mixing thing here, right? Once again, all of these within the boundaries of Islam. So you should do zinat and beautify yourselves for your brothers. Like, so if you guys are going to see the World Cup at each other's homes, yeah, guys, for example, go to each other's homes looking good. Wear a jersey if you want, even. كما يتزين للغريب. The Imam points this out here. He says, the same way, when you're going to meet somebody that you don't know, How are you going to dress? You're going to dress all sloppy? No, I don't know this person. I have some haya from this person, so I better dress nicely for them. He says, how are you there? Just because you have a Muslim brother doesn't mean that this responsibility is not there anymore as your brother. No, this responsibility is still there. It's as if there's a haqq other people have over you that when they look at you, they don't want to look away. You know what I'm saying? And finally, actually I'll leave the last one for some other time, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد صدق الله العلي العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين أثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا لا إله إلا هو له الأسماء الحسنى والمثل الأعلى تبارك وتعالى ثم أصلي وأسلم على نجيبه وحبيبه وحافظ سره الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل وسلم على علي أمير المؤمنين وعلى فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين وعلى سبطي نبي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة اللهم صل وسلم على أئمة الهدى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف القائم المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات عباد الله أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله. Once again, I remind all of us to uphold the taqwa and obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One thing I forgot to say in the previous khutbah, just to give an example of how important these things are to some of our scholars, I still remember Ayatollah Jawadi's son, he was saying this. Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli's son was saying that if my father has said that if I am going to give let's say $1 to somebody as a gift, I'm not just going to give them $1. Even if it costs me, this is just an example he's giving, okay? But you get the ideology, the mentality of this individual who reflects Islamic teachings practically in his life. He says, if I want to give someone, like, let's say $1, I'm not just going to hand them $1. Even if it's going to cost me $2 more to buy a nice envelope for it, I will do that and put that dollar in that and give it to them. To this extent. And so we want to think, how can we bring people towards Islam? Well, if we fix our lives, adjust them the way that Islam wants, I think on its own it can do what it needs to do, inshallah. Anyway, that was something that I wanted to share with you. Let's move on to this, what I wanted to talk about in the second khutbah. I came across this saying by Imam Ali in Nahj al-Balagha. It says, Yabna Adam. Speaking of blessings in the previous khutbah, this is kind of relevant here now. Yabna Adam, إذا رأيت ربك سبحانه يتابع عليك نعمه وأنت تعصيه فاحذره. That, O son of Adam, O children of Adam, if you see your Lord sending one after another, yutabi'u, one after another, sending to you His blessings while you are disobeying Him, then beware. Okay? Then beware. So blessings are good. And if they keep coming, that's good. But in this situation, in this case, it can be a problem. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this a little bit is because you notice this among some of the more religious and religiously practicing people. They've heard a hadith here, a hadith there, a story here, a story there. Sometimes you might have this in du'as as well by the imams, where the imam, it sounds as if the fact that blessings come one after another is a sign that I'm in trouble. Okay? And this hadith also that I just mentioned from Nahj al-Balagha also is used to prove the point in the minds of some that when you see blessings coming one after another, you're in trouble. A mu'min has to always, as if, suffer. Okay? Brothers and sisters, don't worry. When you're in dunya, suffering will be there, okay? You don't have to go chasing it. It'll find you. It'll find all of us. Just being in a material world, and that's why we're here. It's only in a material world that you can suffer like this, even if you're a good person. In Barzakh Yawmul Qiyamah, if you're a good person, you don't suffer. Here though, problems come up. But this idea of, oh, I have to make sure that I'm not always being blessed, or there's a certain period of time that I'm only getting good happening in my life, then that's a bad sign. This ideology is not one in line necessarily with the literature that we have. All right? Why do I say that? Because true, the hadith that I just read, it said when you see those blessings coming one after another, you better beware. But there was a clause and stipulation. What was it? While you are disobeying him, it said. It said, يُتَابِعُ عَلَيْكَ نِعَمَهُ وَأَنْتَ تَعْصِيهِ. Why do I take this part out? You can't take that part out and come up with it. It's like saying, you know what? The kalima, which is La ilaha illallah, I'm just going to stick to the La ilaha part. There's no God. No, there's a continuation of the line or the sentence, illallah, or else it flips. This kalima of tawheed becomes a kalima of kufr all of a sudden. Why? Because I didn't finish the sentence. Here also the Imam says, when you see those blessings coming down, you better be careful. But that's not that's not the whole sentence. What did the whole sentence say? While you are disobeying him. Okay? This is important. You will find that sometimes religious people, they get worried when too many blessings are coming down. Oh, are you worried? Yeah, I'm worried. Why are you worried? Because so many good things are happening in my life. All right, once again, our religion is a normal religion, brothers and sisters. Same theme we had in the first khutbah. Don't get worried because blessings are coming down. Look into your life. See, am I disobeying God? Go through your life a little bit, through your daily life. Am I disobeying God continuously or not? I can't find anything. I'm watching out. I'm doing my best. All right then, there's nothing to worry about. Yeah, if I am continuously disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet blessings are coming, that's when this hadith applies to me. Okay? And so we have different verses of the Quran, we have hadith that I want to share with you. That yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when someone is deserving of a certain punishment, as a result, sometimes He will give them more blessings. But this person first was deserving of punishment, then that is one way Allah punishes them. Give them more blessings, more life. So what happens? So they keep doing whatever wrong that they were doing. Just like how if someone is doing good, Allah gives them more sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes. Allah will give more so they have more opportunity to do good. The flip side has to hold too, brothers and sisters. Right? You can't have one and not have the other. If Allah wants us to do good in this life, we have to be able to do bad. You can't take one part out of the equation. Okay? Same thing here. When Allah sees that someone's doing good, He might give them more so that they can do more good. At the same time, when He sees someone doing bad and continuing to do bad, He might give them more. Why? So they can do more bad. It's just how it is. And so we have verses of the Quran that point this out. So which side am I on? Well, you go back, you revisit your daily life, you see what's going on, you make sure everything's in check, then you're good. And if bad comes your way, you're still happy. This is a test from Allah. If good comes your way, alhamdulillah, this is good. Versus someone who is disobedient constantly in their life, if bad comes their way, it's going to be bad. If good comes their way, it's going to be bad. So what matters, brothers and sisters? What matters, what's the criteria? Is it good and bad that comes my way? Or no, me and how I am? That's the criteria. That's the criteria. That is what determines if this is a niqmah or ni'mah that Allah has given me. Sometimes it might be something good, but it's a niqmah. Why? Because I myself have a problem. Anyway, some of the verses that speak of this, Surah An'am, verse 44. It says, فَلَمَا نَسُوا مَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَتَّى إِذَا فَرِحُوا بِمَا أُوتُوا أَخَذْنَاهُمْ بَغْتَةً فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْلِسُونَ. So when they forgot what they had been admonished of, we warned them, they didn't care. What did we do? We sent down punishment. We opened for them the gates of all good things. But brothers and sisters, it's in the dunya that all good things in dunya, that means it's going to end, and then there's accountability after. When they rejoiced in what they were given, like, oh look, we turn away from God, look at all the good stuff that's still coming my way. When they rejoiced in what they were given, we seized them suddenly. Whereat, behold, they were despondent. فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْلِسُونَ. They're in trouble. وَالَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُم مِّنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ إِنَّ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ. As for those who deny our signs, we will draw them imperceptibly, meaning they can't perceive it, they can't feel it, they don't sense it, but we're actually drawing them away further and further. This person feels like they're the best person in the world. Alhamdulillah, looks like it didn't matter if we follow God or not. Good stuff is happening still. Yes, but your measuring stick is wrong because you're just looking at dunya. There's an akhirah to come as well. Sanastadrijuhum. Istidraj is this concept that sometimes Allah will slowly. He's not going to force you. He's just going to keep giving you more and more opportunity. And you're going to keep messing up those opportunities and failing yourself. And before you know it, you are way deep in the mud of the akhirah. And there's no way you can get yourself out. Okay. Next one. وَلَا يَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّمَا نُمْلِي لَهُمْ خَيْرٌ لِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Some people look and see, oh wow, they're given more respite, more time. Don't think that this is good for them. Why? Let the faithless not suppose that the respite that we grant them is good for their souls. We give them respite only that they may increase in sin. I used to pronounce this respite, but then someone told me it's wrong. It's respite. It's just for those of us who think it's respite, okay? When they we give them respite only that they may increase in sin. Not that Allah wants that, but He's going to give the opportunity to everybody. And there is a humiliating punishment for them. And that's why we have hadith that says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ إِذَا أَرَادَ بِعَبْدٍ خَيْرًا فَأَذْنَبَ أَتْبَعَهُ بِالنِّقْمَةٍ. If Allah loves an individual, when they do something wrong, Allah will shake them a little bit right there. So that's a good thing. Okay? If Allah shakes you right there, that means He hasn't given up on you. Some people, an earthquake comes, they're still asleep. You know? But for some, shaking them will have an effect. If Allah is shaking that person, it's a big, actually good thing. وَيُذَكِّرُهُ الْإِسْتِغْفَارِ. He will shake that person, remind them for istighfar. But if Allah wants something bad for someone, and while they're sinning and disobeying and all of that, He will give them ni'mah after what they've done wrong. So brothers and sisters, is ni'mah the problem? Ni'mah and blessing is not the problem. Who's the problem? I'm the problem. I am the problem, and that's why the ni'mah He's given me is something bad actually, according to this hadith. So to wrap up, brothers and sisters, once again, it's a normal religion. Don't think that if you're a good person, you have to always suffer. No, life is life. Life is normal, and it is also under the influence of a lot of things that are happening around us. Yeah, and so I will try my best. The amount that has to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Him sending down hardship for me, that's in His hands. But He's let us know that sometimes I will send down hardship because I love you and I want to remind you. But it's not always the case. And the flip side, I will sometimes give you good, but giving you good doesn't always mean that you're in good shape. And so all in all, it's either this or that. We're in a constant state of, they call it khawf and raja. We're between this fear and also this hope. Am I doing things right? Am I not? I'm seeing a lot of blessings coming. Let me recheck. I'm seeing a lot of hardship coming my way. Let me recheck. We have to be on our tippy toes, walking on eggshells till we leave this dunya. Allah wants us to be in that state of being careful of what we're doing, or else before I know it, all the good that's happening is actually not a blessing for me, but actually a means of my punishment. And so I want all the religious brothers and sisters out there just to never have this expectation that being good equals always suffering. Always looking over my shoulder to make sure, oh my God, I'm about to get hit by Allah. I'm about to get hit because Allah loves me. That's not necessarily the case. We have to be more focused on what the literature tells us and more encompassing, and have a good idea of what all the literature tells us. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal asri inna al-insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu as-salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله وأنه حجة الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد كذلك الله ربي الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين واستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره والمستشهدين بين يديه وأشرنا معه. Inshallah, recite Dua Imam Zaman all together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kun li waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan salawatuka alayhi wa ala abai fi hadhihi as-sa'a wa fi kulli sa'a waliyan wa hafidha wa qa'idan wa nasira ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد.
Mominin, just a couple of quick announcements for upcoming programs and events. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. here at CFK, there is a Dallas Youth Sisters Winter Break get-together, and this is for ages 11 through 15 only. Please register if you would like to attend this program at dallasu.org/winter. A reminder for the upcoming the next weekend, we will be commemorating the second Ayam Fatimiyya here at CFK on the 23rd and the 24th of December, Friday and Saturday. We are honored to host our guest speaker, Sheikh Mahdi Muhammadpur Shakulai. The programs will inshallah start at 7 p.m. with Salatul Isha. As always, event details are posted on our webpage, cfkdfw.org, where you can subscribe to our newsletter and our WhatsApp group. Jazakallah to all our sustaining members, donors, volunteers, and program sponsors for your contributions. If you're not a member, please consider becoming one by contacting our membership director, Brother Asif Patel. For opportunities to donate, sponsor programs, or help behind the scenes, please speak to myself or any of the volunteers. Let us please recite a Surah Fatiha for the marhumin of today's Niyaz sponsors. Marhum Mukhtar Ali Makhraj, Marhuma Rubab Banu bint Haji Nanji, Marhum Shabab Ali Ghulam Hussain, and the marhumin of Brother Sadiq Makhraj and family. Let us all include all our marhumin and the marhumin of the Ummah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله وأنه حجة الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليهم أجمعين. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. كذلك الله ربي. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.